Hello everyone, Xiaoling here, and in this video I just want to talk a little bit about my impressions of Battlefield 1 Open Beta. Now I've played a fair amount, and by a fair amount I mean I've spent over 40 hours in the game. I think I've reached rank 54 or something. Probably a little bit more time than I should have spent with the game, but you know, it's fun. I've tried all the classes, all the vehicles and the modes, and I feel that I'm ready to talk about the game. I didn't know what to expect when approaching Battlefield 1, and honestly, outside of watching a few trailers, which I have to admit did look pretty cool, but trailers are marketing and you can't always trust trailers, you know. Yes, outside of that, I didn't really pay much attention to the game at all, especially since the very underwhelming Battlefront that was on offer last year. I don't even think we need to talk about that. So I guess a part of me expected the same with Battlefield 1. Well, I can honestly say that I was surprised. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with the game, and I find myself still wanting to play more, even with there only being one map, two modes, and of course limited weapons and all of that stuff that comes with the beta. There is something very addictive about this game for sure, and I'm certain most of you have either already tried the beta for yourselves, or at least some of you have seen footage of it over the past week. I guess how can you miss the footage of it over the past week? So first off, I'm going to say that the game runs well, if you have the hardware for it. On Ultra at 1080p, I've not dropped below 75 frames a second on my 1070. And I'm averaging probably around 100 plus, which is nice to see, especially since there are so many bad PC versions of games nowadays. So that's a definite plus. Okay, so onto some of the mechanics in the game. There are 4 classes in the game, each with their own unlockable loadouts, customizations, and all fulfill different roles. So you've got the assault class who excels in close quarters and is equipped to deal with tanks. You've got the medic who heals and revives and has a decent medium range. And the support guy who drops ammo and sets traps and that kind of thing. And finally the scout who is the resident sniper who everyone and their auntie seems to want to play. Otherwise, if you spawn in a tank or a plane as a horseman, you'll be assigned a unique class which is suited for that particular vehicle. So you aren't going to have the same kind of loadout as the other classes, which I thought was a nice touch. It forces you to consider what it is that you're going to be doing in the game. The vehicles in the game are strong, very strong, and the tanks will take teamwork to take down. Now there have been complaints about people saying it's too powerful and that it's OP, but personally I think those complaints usually come from new players who don't know how to deal with them yet. They should be strong, you know, they're tanks. And players will need to work together and use their classes correctly in order to take them out, or you know, use the gun emplacements that are available at the various objectives around the map. The vehicle combat is very rewarding and has a lot of weight to it. I must say that I absolutely love the feeling of combat in the tanks, especially the light tank that I've been enjoying. They feel great and actually take some skill. Not so much skill in getting kills because obviously they're tanks, but to get their positioning and their tactics correct. A good tank driver will be able to really push the front and capture or defend objectives effectively and contribute a lot to the team effort. So knowing when to engage or be more aggressive and when to fall back and repair. You really get the feeling that you're in a war in this game. Visually the game is stunning and fluid. The audio is great, as I guess you'd come to expect with all of DICE's games. It feels very brutal. The animations are great and the feeling of the weapons I think is very, very visceral indeed. And the gunplay feels good, which surprised me because I'm not that interested in the World War I setting. Generally I prefer the more modern warfare type of stuff. Every class in the game has its own progression system, so the more you play it, the more points you get, the more you're going to rank up, and then you're going to get more selection in your weapon loadouts and stuff, different variations on your gun, like presets basically. Unfortunately, the modding of weapons, so the ability to put new sights on and things like that, was not available in the beta. So I couldn't get to see what kind of customizations we are likely to see and how many there are going to be. But there are going to be battle packs in Battlefield 1, so I expect there are going to be a fair amount of customization options coming up in the future. So as I mentioned earlier, there are 2 available modes in the beta, Conquest and Rush. For those of you who are players of the previous Battlefield games, you'll be quite at home and familiar with these. Rush is sector based, so either you attack or you defend 2 points. If the defenders successfully hold any of these points off from the attackers for 10 minutes, they win. If the attackers destroy both points, the defenders are pushed back to one zone. And then you'll go through this until you've been through all the zones, and there aren't any more zones left. I think they're like 5, at which point you'll lose if you don't manage to hold the attackers off. If you guys are interested in seeing Rush, you can check out my video here. The Conquest mode is more objective focused this time around, so kills don't really affect the ticket system like they did in the previous games. Some folks don't like it. some folks do. I guess it's going to depend on your preference, but I'm not a Battlefield 4 veteran, and I think the system works quite well. To be honest, the footage you're seeing playing in the background now is directly from Conquest, so you're going to be running around the map trying to capture different points, and everyone's going to be trying to capture different points, and the more points you hold, the faster your score is going to go up. So you want to be trying to hold more points than the enemy. And that's pretty much the content that's available in the beta. As I said before, I've had a really good time with the beta, but there are some issues that I do want to talk about now. The first thing is in Conquest, I think the time limit for the map is extremely short. It doesn't even allow you to get to the maximum 300 points. Most matches end way before that. And so it doesn't give the opposing team time to make that comeback. You know, the match ends way before that. Now, I think this may have been a deliberate thing so that they could gather more data by having the matches quicker. I do hope, at least, that this is not going to be the case in the full game. The other issue was, as I mentioned before, I think I alluded to it, that everyone's playing the sniper class. There are just way too many snipers. I don't know if this is the case in games like Battlefield 4, but in Battlefield 1 there seems to be a problem where everyone's just taking a sniper and camping on some hill somewhere trying to get kills and not really contributing to capturing objectives. So hopefully this is not going to be an issue when the full game releases. For those of you who do play Battlefield 4, you can let me know in the comment section below if this is a problem in Battlefield 4 as well. Also, there were a number of bugs in the beta, but again, it is a beta, so there were some issues with physics and animations and characters' gear elastic banding all over the place, and it does indeed look a little bit strange, but beta is beta, I suppose, and hopefully most of these are going to be sorted out by the time the game releases in October. But I didn't come across any game-breaking issues. On occasion, the game would load into a black screen. I'd have to just basically close the process and then reload it, and it would eventually load. But again, this only happened occasionally. And of course, on the first day of the open beta, there were some network issues which I didn't experience in the early access day or in the subsequent days. So that's not really a problem. I expect at launch a similar thing might happen on the very first day as they get their server sorted out, because this seems to be the case with any large multiplayer game that launches. Okay, so let's talk about my biggest gripe with Battlefield 1, and that is the teamwork aspect of the game. As much fun as I'm having with the game right now, and I'm having a lot of fun with it, so don't misunderstand me, I do have to talk about this because it's been a point of frustration in very many matches I've played so far, especially in the rush mode. Now, I don't want to say that I understand that this is a beta and that people are new, and that some of the players playing are casual players and have never played a Battlefield game before. So I've been in situations where high-ish level players are not healing you even when you ask, or medics just run right past you when your health is clearly low, so they don't bother to check and just drop a health pack on their way past you, or engineers not giving you ammo when you need it, or players at the beginning of a map all hopping into a vehicle and driving off without picking anybody up, leaving basically everyone else at spawn to run to the objective really slowly, or even tank operators who don't help to push objectives or even help to defend objectives, but choose to sit in the middle of nowhere and don't repair their tanks, and they'll just leave them when they get damaged. You know, all of these things impact the team in a very negative way. Tanks are extremely powerful in this game, and they need to be used properly, they need to be used wisely and efficiently, because they can turn the tide of a battle over a particular point. There are situations where squad mates don't even go to the squad objectives. In fact, most of the time squads don't even stick together. Every squad member is somewhere else on the map, not sticking together, not communicating, not doing anything, and everyone is just basically lone wolfing. And I do think this is a genuine problem. I think only so much of this can be chalked down to people being new players, because there's very many instances where even high-level players are not working together. The amount of times, especially in Rush, where I'm either defending or pushing a point, only to find not a single person is disarming or arming the objective while I'm guarding it with a tank, forcing me to exit the tank, arm or disarm the objective and climb back into my tank, is mind-boggling. Or the amount of tank drivers just ignoring the objectives completely and chasing after some enemies or hanging around in the desert, as I mentioned earlier. Of course, it's, quite annoying, and as I said before, I chalk it down to people being new or not knowing how to play the game, but in many of these cases, these people are way past the rank that would qualify them as new. So yeah, teamwork is an issue, and that's my point. To me, a game like Battlefield would absolutely shine if people actually worked together and did what their classes were supposed to do and communicated, especially if squads worked together. I think Battlefield 1 will have 10 maps at launch, with more coming in the final expansion, I think 16. And I think that's great, you know, with other game modes and all that kind of thing. And I've had so much fun on one map, so that's pretty awesome. But my point is, what if what's happening in the beta is an indication of how the full release will play out with regards to teamwork? Lone Wolf Paradise, you know? That's kind of concerning. Look, of course I don't expect a server full of 32 people to work together seamlessly, but there needs to be at least some semblance of team play, otherwise people may as well play Call of Duty, right? Or, dare I say, has Battlefield become like Call of Duty? Also, as usual, EA is charging $50 for the expansion pass, so if you do want to get all the content for, you're looking at spending about $110, and that's quite a price. Not to mention that the expansion pass will divide the community as well, which is really not that great. But as I said, outside of my teamwork concern, I'll probably end up getting the game at some point, provided the full release is in a good state at launch. I won't be pre-ordering the game. I've said this in many of my videos because I think that pre-ordering is a bad practice in general. It allows developers to release unfinished, unoptimized products and charge you money for it and then make excuses and not fix them. So yeah, I advise you guys against pre-ordering anything, including Battlefield 1. So people will probably say that if I'm looking for a more tactical team-based experience, I should probably look elsewhere like Arma 3 or Squad or Insurgency. And in fact, I just started looking at Insurgency yesterday, something I should have probably checked out a long time ago. But I digress. Perhaps it's because of my time with Siege that I'm craving more tactical team-based shooters, or maybe I'm living in the past with my memories from Battlefield 2. I don't know. But for those of you who have played Battlefield 4, let me know in the comment section below if there's more teamwork involved in the higher levels of play. Anyway guys, that's been a look at my impressions of the Battlefield 1 beta. It is a good game, don't misunderstand all my ranting here. But I think that if there's more teamwork involved, when people understand all the mechanics, it'll not only be a good game, it'll be an awesome game. Otherwise guys, I've been Charling. Until next time.